Hi, Julian here again to talk more about Riftwalker. Angie, my co-designer Angie, running the camera. I promise we'll get her to come out and play at some point in one of these videos. But for now, I am going to talk to you about some of the basic strategies and considerations, tactical considerations in a game of Riftwalker by the elements. So, one of the cool things about Riftwalker is that every element has its own theme and sort of strategic design. There are some basic cards that go across elements. There are cards that let you grow or swap something of the same element. So like a water card that would let you grow, which means turn face up a water card. Or another one that would let you shift something of the same element and activate its power. So there's some basic powers that go across the cards, but in general, each element also has a very focused sort of theme and strategy. So I'm going to talk about each of those. We'll start out with wind. Wind is our tricky element. It's designed to let you play off of what your opponents are doing. And sometimes that's a simple matter of just seeing what cards they have and getting to do something fun off of them. And sometimes, like this card here, reading the leaves, you get to offer them an interesting choice. So in this case, choose an opponent. That opponent may shift one of their rifts. Then if they do, you get to shift one of your rifts and activate its power. So essentially you're offering them a free move, a free shifting of one of their rifts, increasing its points value. But if they take you up on that, not only do you get to also shift one of your rifts, any of your choice, but you get to activate its power and get an additional activation of a rift in the turn. So, tricky like that. Next we've got life. Life is our growth rifts, our growth element. They help you shift along all of the other cards to increase their point value and get them ready to burst. So in this case, glowing in the gloom, that card lets you look out at the element grid and see whichever element is the most plentiful out there, and if there's a tie, you get to choose between the tied elements, and then you get to shift all of your rifts that match that element. So if you line up the opportunity in the right way, you can shift a lot of rifts all at once with that. Next, we've got Earth. Earth is our mountainous element. It's the one that lets you play off of the 7-point rifts, the ones that are fully built up. In this case, for example, uncovered treasures. You may discard one of your explored rifts that is worth 7 points. So you have to have built up a rift that is up to its maximum ability, and then you have to discard it. But when you do that, you then get to shift all of your other rifts all at once. Next, we've got fire. Fire is our high-risk, high-reward element. It burns up cards to get bonus points. In this case, buried beneath the sands, you may burn up one of the cards from your hand by discarding it underneath this card every time it's activated. And then when you burst this card, all those cards go along with it to the score pile, and it gives you bonus points for every single card that you manage to tuck underneath it. And a lot of fire rifts do that in different ways. They find either explored rifts or ones from your hand, and they find ways to tuck them underneath and give you bonus points for them later in the game when you score. Next is water, our going wide element. Water is all about spreading out and getting you lots of different rifts in your explored rifts area. More tools for your toolbox and more opportunities to shift and increase points and score. So, as an example here, Trapped in Ice. Every time this one is activated, you take the top card of the rift deck and you tuck it underneath, face up in this case, so you get to see what it is. When you burn things with a fire rift, usually put them face down because whatever rift they are, it doesn't matter. They're just giving you points. In this case, you get to see what rift it is, because when you finally burst this rift, anything that you've gotten underneath it comes out and shifts once, 3 points, and it goes into your explored rifts area. So now you've got more cards out, and they're already shifted, so they could be scored, or they're not far away from being maximum points and ready to score. So that's what that card does. Water gets lots of cards out in different ways. And finally, we've got Storm. Storm is our element that helps you manipulate the element grid in general. So it's very, very helpful for lining up different elements to get a burst going on. In this case, our example here is Blast Rocks. Blast Rocks lets you take any card off the grid of your choice. So let's say I wanted this one. I take it off and I set it aside in my play area, And then I take the top card of the element deck, just like a normal place turn. I get to pick which side I want, and I place it. So already I got to manipulate the element grid in a helpful way. But even better, later on, anytime I would be able to place something off the top of the element deck, I can instead choose to place the blast rock that I saved off to the side, which means I'm essentially storing, in this case, a water or a life for later when I need it. So as you can see, each element has its own distinct theme that it does. However, there's a lot of cool interplay amongst them as well. For example, if you're burning up a lot of things with fire, it's good to be able to spread out well with water. If you're growing things fast along, that'll help you line up the earth, various rifts getting to 7 points so that your earth rifts can be important. And wind and storm are both generally good because playing tricks off of your opponents for your advantages is always helpful, and manipulating the element grid can help you line up whatever other combos you're looking for. And that's one of the neat things about Riftwalker 2, is that it's a game where you have to really, play with the different elements. You don't want to go too deep on one because the element grid's going to change, other players are going to be doing what they want, so it's good to be able to make use of various elements that'll come up. It's definitely more of a tactical game than a long-term strategy game. You can't sit down and decide, oh, I'm going to go for a water strategy this game, I just know it. You can prefer that, and you can sort of look for that opportunity, but since you're going to be drawing random cards off the top of the deck, it's really important to have that tactical mindset where you just look at what you've got currently and see what kind of combinations you can do and how you can make the most of the cards you've been given. There are a lot of really interesting combos that can come up, and we are going to be discussing some of those combos and showing just sort of how wild and crazy the game can get in a later video. But for now, that is our general overview of the different elements and their strategies. If you'd like to check them out for yourselves, there's a print and play on the site. You can try out a game of Riftwalker for yourself. And once again, thank you so much for supporting Riftwalker during this Kickstarter.